childhood stuff. Recipes, spells.
You don't know what you've seen.
But it can't hurt you if you don't believe.
I suggest you leave that house before you do.
You see him in the mirrors.
Who? What happened? Who are you afraid of? Tell me who you're afraid of.
The ghosts are here now. We've been waiting for you, Caroline.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Ciao.
This week, we'll be discussing the forgotten classic, I don't know, Skeleton Key, starring Kate Hudson and others, John Hurt, Gina Rowland, who doesn't, and Peter Sarsgaard, not to be confused with
Skarsgård. I'm like, he doesn't look like any of the Skarsgårds.
He's not a Skarsgård. He's a Sarsgaard.
It's like Baldwin. He's a Baldwin, but it's two L's or something.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Very sad. Give us the 30-second synopsis of Skeleton Key.
New Orleans, Bayou, hospice. $1,000 a week to toilet and wash down a withered old William Hurt who looks like he's right out of Alien.
Yes.
Except there's all voodoo, and so you just dive head in, and guess what? Boom. You believe, now you're the end.
Well, and it's not voodoo.
It's hoodoo.
It's hoodoo. That's you do.
The hoodoo that you do. Yeah, I suppose that if we were from that part of the country when all this nonsense is going on, we'd have a better understanding. This is our California interpretation. They're like, voodoo's the religion. Hoodoo is the magic. Except
that's what they said.
But voodoo has magic too.
Oh, are you a voodoo priestess that you know such things?
I will tell you this. I was having some problems with someone I worked with back in the old days. So I went online. This was at the beginning when they first invented the internet. And I ordered some goofer dust from like Madame LeVay's or something in New Orleans and had it shipped directly to my work. Because
bath salts?
So the idea is you sprinkle this dust, and if someone walks over it, then you're in control. Because this guy kept telling me and my friends to be quiet because we were too loud in our office. This is where I work for a defense contractor who shall remain nameless. And most of the time, we just sat around in my office drinking coffee, chit-chatting, and this guy would come and stick his head over the cube or walk by with signs, in a conference call, can you please be quiet? So I ordered this goofer dust so he'd leave me alone because, it was the only fun I had at this job. And so it arrived and I went to open it and it wouldn't sprinkle out. So I tore it open a little bit more and it exploded all over his office. I was like, oh shit. So I ran and hid in my office and he came in. There was like this fine powder everywhere. I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. And I could hear him coming. So I went and hid in my cubicle and I could hear him back. He went and got a housekeeping, got a vacuum. And within a week he had moved to a different floor.
Uh-oh.
So you tell me.
You've got the deal with the devil.
Do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Pretty much. So this is your story.
This is my personal Anne Rice kind of story here. It's very Louis Cypher, if you must know.
It is very much so. Now, when did you even heard of this movie in years past?
No, I did not. I mean, like last year, like it came on and I was too lazy to turn it away situations. I'd never heard of this movie.
I'm trying to think. This is a very specific period of time. For about 5 years after Almost Famous, when Kate Hudson was kind of a celebrity.
Right.
It kind of really puts it into a specific time frame. This is 2005. I had actually seen this already. I had
Did
actually
you?
seen this. Shockingly enough, I don't think I saw it in the theaters. I think it was a flipping channel situation.
Yeah,
is what I
like
would say.
mine. I was like, ooh, this looks creepy. Anything New Orleans, I'm obsessed with New Orleans, even though I've never bothered to actually go. But
Right. You've
yeah,
never been to New Orleans?
I know.
That's shocking.
I had a New
I've been.
Orleans themed wedding. Madame LeVay has my credit card information. You would think.
Yeah.
I
I went
read
on the interview
one
with the
Anne
Vampire
Rice book.
Tour. Only one?
No,
What's your problem?
it's too
I've
much
read many.
kiddie porny, if you ask me. It's always some little girl. It's her. It's
No,
her
it
dad.
isn't.
Yes, you know what it is. She had a child.
If you've read one book, I've read 100 books. So don't tell me. I know.
She is haunted by the death of a child. And so there's always some kind of weird.
There is not. There is.
baby vampire. So
That's V.C. Andrews. is who
no.
you're thinking of.
The baby vampire. Don't you remember? God, the Tom Cruise thing. There's always a baby vampire.
There was one in one story. There was not.
It's
not a
enough.
reoccurring thing.
I have
Okay.
painted it with a broad string.
Clearly. Sweet Jesus.
And I never read any of that V.C. Andrews shit. That was your sister, and you
That's you.
apparently.
That's you. I know. I remember. This is a bit of a sidetrack. We have paperbacks all through our house growing up.
Right.
So one day I was kind of like, whatever, and I grabbed just a book off the shelf, and it was a V.C. Andrews book.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't like Flowers in the Attic. It was like some other book.
Was there another book? I just assumed.
There were multiple. That was just the first book of the series.
Oh, God. Is it all incest books?
They're all incest. It was literally like, so I'm like reading the back, like the jacket, just kind of like the little summary of what it was supposed to be about. And it was very early on, like in the first paragraph of the description's like, Sally had always noticed her Uncle Drake looking at her from across the room. And I'm just like, what? What? What is happening? I'm like, that's a little too, that is something serious. You got to warn me this is coming. You don't just slip right into the incest.
Oh, trust me.
Sweet
Most of
Jesus.
the time, if you're reading V.C. Andrews, you know what's up. The
You know.
whammy for me was grabbing a Judy Blume book called Wifey and thinking it was going to be like other Judy Blume books. And it was not.
Uh-oh.
That
It
was
took a
one
dark
of,
turn.
It was the adult Judy Blume.
I'm unfamiliar with the adult Judy Blume.
Oh, yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Wifey. You can Google that.
I shall not. I promise you that. Okay, back to business. So we both basically had, I remember seeing like commercials for it, like in the movie theater or whatever, the trailers.
Right.
But I do believe, because you think it's like kind of a ghost story kind of thing, like what's going on.
I mean, it definitely has a good mood to it. It's like got that angel heart mood. It
does.
It's pushing a lot of the good buttons.
Right. It's the mysterious. It's kind of the fish out of water because you got Kate Hudson, who's from Hoboken. Right. They make a point to say that. Who's like, she's a caregiver. She was working.
She's a hospice nurse who's not a nurse.
Right. No, like literally, because she wanted to save money to go to college or something. It was kind of a plot point. That's why she was taking the job. She was jaded because at the normal hospice places, they don't really care when the people die. They just throw their junk in the trash after they die. It's very sad.
It's not that they don't care. I thought that was kind of weird because you can't take to bed when that is your job. You can't take to bed for a month. And quite frankly, if the family's not coming to pick up their stuff, what is the plan? You're going to go take your garage and become a hoarder?
That's basically what it is. It's basically she was reading Treasure Island to some dude, old man who just dies suddenly, and they pack up all his stuff, and they're like, well, he doesn't really have any family, and the family he does have isn't going to come get it, so just take that stuff out to the dumpster. So she goes back there, and there's like 10 other boxes of just
the despair
crap.
shouldn't be with the hospice home. The despair should be with the humankind and the disconnection of families. That's where the despair should come from.
That's what should have been the issue. And then she stole like the keychain out of the guy's box.
Well, that's what I figure. That's what I figure goes on. It'll be like rootin' tootin'. Here's another one. Let's start digging.
She did. She does a wide turn on that where it's like, I'm so sad that we're just throwing away stuff. Well, I'm just going to take it. I'm going to help myself then. Is there a wallet in
I'm
here?
going to start going through all those boxes. What else is in there? You don't know.
I thought she was going to jump into the dumpster.
Like, I am on this Facebook group, like things found in walls, but it is broadened out. So people are finding, like, buy a book at a thrift store and there's $100 bill tucked in the pages there. Old people are always tucking stuff away and then they forget about it.
So we should go visit the hospice centers? Is that what you're suggesting? Start rifling through the garbage?
Start rifling through those books, exactly. See, Treasure Island. It could have been full of treasure.
It could have been. So at this point, she sees an ad in the newspaper where it's like, come live at our, plantation and give hospice care to this old man who had recently had a stroke. We'll pay you $1,000
a week.
A week. And it's living. So, but it's out in the swamp, basically. It's a big old plantation out in the swamp.
Oh my God! And a kind of a certain degree of decomposition too. I mean, it's not completely falling apart. The inside's still nice, but the outside could use some work.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Now, while you're watching this, because this is not our first time watching this. Did it occur to you that she is literally the worst nurse of all? She is the worst freaking nurse. She's just gone all the time.
I wrote that down.
She is never taking care of him. She bathes him once a day. I guess he's sitting in dirty diapers. She's not feeding him. I don't see her doing anything but rifling through these people's house.
Yeah, I wrote down a lot of free time.
A lot of free time and like half a theft. If you hire a care worker, do you expect her to just start digging through your attic? Besides the fact we know what's going to happen, it's almost like she deserves it. She's like a sneak thief.
Well, she gives her, Gina Rollins, is the wife, I guess, of this old man who has had this stroke, who's basically doesn't speak and every now and again spazzes out and shrieks and but you're right. It's like she gives Kate Hudson a skeleton key. Why? Why does she need a skeleton key? She doesn't need to be able to open all 35 different rooms and the attic or any place else. All she needs to be able to get into is the guy's room and her own room.
Maybe that's what it is. You either have to carry around 35 keys or 3 keys or whatever, or you have the one that gets you into most of the places.
Except for the secret door in the
but
attic,
apparently it unlocks that too. It was just broken off or something.
Well, I thought she was basically picking the lock at one point. She pulled out
a broken piece of the key and she found the other piece of the broken key and then she then she ends up just using the key.
Yes, she did something and then was able to use the key. And then she found the crazy voodoo room.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's
what is happening?
As soon as I saw the voodoo room, peace in the Middle East.
You're out of it. You're packing
I'm
your
calling
bags.
elder abuse hotline on my way out. Like when I'm an hour outside of this hillbilly freak town. Now I'm calling whoever to come and pick up that man. But Doherty first. Out.
Absolutely.
That giant doll with the lips sewn up.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not even telling you I'm leaving. You're just going to be seeing my bug disappear down the bayou.
You're going to leave poor John Hurt quivering in his wheelchair out in the swamp?
Once I get safely out of that place, I will call the elder abuse or whatever the hell it is.
And say what? What will you say? I found a crazy old mannequin in the attic and I'm afraid? Is that what you're doing?
So yeah, I'm just out.
Well, because at one point she goes to the lawyer, Luke or whatever, and says, hey, I think something's up over there. And he's like, well, tell me, what happened?
I can't.
What's going on? He's like, well, yeah, there's an old crazy mannequin in the attic, and that frightened me. No, it's a whole freak out. Now, here's my other question. I'm not an expert in hospice care, but you don't have to have any medical training at all to be like a caregiver?
Well, I think if you're not prescribing medicine, then really all you're doing is like a home health care nurse, where you're just bathing them and feeding them. I think you have to have some kind of training to give out the medicine, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember like when Nana and D-Bob had hospice care.
Well, don't take this down a serious road. Don't bring like real
I'm telling you,
reflections and anecdotes.
I think nowadays it's probably an RN there's probably one RN on staff to supervise like dispensing. And I'm just pulling this shit out of my ass. But I think it's most of the time, they're just waiting to die. So you're just keeping them clean, keeping them comfortable, feeding them, whatever. If they have a DNR, then once they can't feed themselves, then that's that. Then you're just watching.
What? Because Gina Rollins is constantly like pouring some kind of like brew down his gullet. You know what I mean? Which it's like, what's in that? Oh, this and that. A little bit of this. It's like, okay. It's like, I guess I'm not a nurse, so who knows? You could be giving them pure strychnine, and I'd never know the difference.
And why would
basically.
you even question it? You know what I mean?
As long as the check's cash, is basically.
One does not assume that normally that there's evil afoot.
One does not. That this is true. Now, I wrote down, I thought it was kind of funny. When she goes to interview, she's wearing like a crazy tank top and shorts. I'm like, maybe dress up a little?
Most of the time, these home healthcare people are making like minimum wage.
Yes.
So you're not throwing on a tuxedo for a hobo job.
Top hat and tails? You're not doing that? Monocle?
I would pay extra if someone would wear a monocle. Where are you going with that now?
So absolutely. It's only one eye that's kind of crazy. The other one's fine. And so she's up there, and she also discovers like the records. Now, what inspired her to just grab a bunch of records?
It had a weird name.
You know what I mean?
It had a weird name. Yeah. Here's the problem. This is the problem with the movie. There's two things going on. The first watch, you're just it washes over you, and it is exciting.
Yes.
The second watch, you're like, why'd they do that? That makes no goddamn sense. Why did you do this? Why'd you do that? Why would you try to ram an iron gate with a Volkswagen Bug? That seems bad. You're better off driving it into the swamp, because you know what? Volkswagens float. Yeah.
Do they really? I ain't driving that into the swamp with crocodiles.
And the crocs in the cradle and the silvers.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you have better chances than driving. And quite frankly, the motor's in the back. So it seems to me like she could probably crash that gate a couple more times before she gives up.
Yeah, well, it's that thing where it's like, at some point, you just got to say, later, John Hurt. I think I'm going over the wall, and you can stick around. You know what I mean? There's only so much I'm willing to do for
you have
a big
to
guy.
anyway. Peace.
Yeah, well, well, it's like we said, she's wandering through the attic. And frankly, I've been in a few attics or in my day, and you're just kind of like, what makes this crap interesting and this crap not interesting? You know what I mean? Why is she going, records? I better grab a couple of these and take them with me.
The other thing,
who the hell
keeps all their gardening supplies in their attic? I'll tell you who. Nobody. No. And
well, I think that was...
They have a gardening outbuilding. So for sure, I'd like to go up
a shed.
Whole shed. I would like to go up 9 flights of stairs to the hottest spot in the swampy place to keep my gardening seeds.
Well, I think in retrospect, like, she wanted Kate Hudson to go up there and start discovering all the voodoo stuff. That was part of her plan, because like we learn over the course of the movie is it doesn't work on you if you don't believe it. And since she's a Yankee coming from up above, she isn't automatically afraid of this stuff. So she has to start believing the stuff. So basically, the issue is that the guy she's taking care of, John Hurt, who was basically just taking a nap and taking a bath during the course of this movie. He's like, whatever you need me to do, just cash a check, give me some money. I will sit here and every now and again just point at me and I'll kind of spaz out a little bit.
This is the acting role I can get behind. I can do no.
That's the one.
Of lines.
None.
I can emote like a son of a bitch. If I don't have to memorize
absolutely
anything, you just bring me my Academy Award.
I'm in. Then I'm Sir Laurence Olivier. No lines. I can sit there and spaz out in the bathtub every now and again. That's all you have to do.
Hudson's hand keeps slipping under the soapy water.
I thought about that too. Yes.
I was like,
good times. Good Lord.
My hand under.
Well, she dropped the soap in the tub at one point.
And then magically, it reappears back on the rack. Did you notice that?
Yes, I did know it because I kept waiting for her to reach into the soapy water, the murky depths. That's not the soap.
Apparently, we all have our limits.
Oh God,
I'm
we
not
all have our limits. So she,
the Elephant Man.
Oh God! So she finds his dirty sheets with the words "Help me" written in his sheets. So now she's like, something's wrong.
Something else. They try to make it seem like it was potting soil, but that stuff was pretty right.
Yes.
Something else, Brown.
Yes. Well, maybe if she'd done a better job changing his diaper every now and again, he wouldn't have been able to send her a note. Maybe that's the note he was really sending. Help me. Get me a better caregiver. For God's sake.
You're the worst nurse of all. I hate you.
I hate you so bad, I'm going to climb out the window and try to commit suicide.
The hell away from me.
Yeah, she was misinterpreting. Yes. So basically, over the course of the movie, she's starting to figure out there's something going on with the husband and the wife, basically. That the wife is trying to do something, so she thinks, to the husband.
But really, the wife is just kind of, old person, this is my house. I don't really feel comfortable with people wandering around, which is not unusual for old people. I mean, her suspicion just jumped really fast, really high.
Right. She didn't catch the old woman doing anything. It was a lot of like, because the old man is spazzing out and she's like, what are you afraid of? And he kind of points at her, points at Gina Rowland. That kind of, I guess.
Yeah, he's had a brain trauma.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Who knows what he's pointing at? He doesn't
pointing
understand
to the cats in the cradle.
It could be. So she starts kind of buying into the voodoo because she's like, well, I don't believe this
She
mumbo
went
jumbo.
from I don't believe to now I'm a full-on voodoo practitioner in the course of 30 seconds.
Right. Yes. Well, she starts doing the stuff because it's like, I don't believe it, but because he believes it, maybe it'll have an effect, is the idea initially. But then eventually, you're right. She's in it. By the end, she's in it. There's a whole scene at the end because there's a twist. There's a twist and a double twist. She figures out, she goes and talks to the sympathetic lawyer, which I thought this was kind of a funny scene where she's like looking at his desk and it's like law for beginners is what it's like, practicing law for dummies. These books like on his, it's just like, oh. This is kind of strange.
It was super heavy-handed. I want you to make sure that you really, you know what it was? It was horror for dummies is what it was.
It was, very much so. So now she realizes the young sympathetic lawyer is somehow in on the conspiracy.
And then, of course, there's just randomly 10,000 candid shots of her. For what purpose? We don't know.
We don't know.
Nor does it matter, nor does it forward the story.
No. I had this big question. So she discovers if you use brick dust, you can like sprinkle that on the ground and no one who means you any harm can cross the line.
Can't they just go through the drywall then? It seems like they clearly found their way around that since they managed to chase her all the way up the stairs.
Yes. If you have a shotgun, it doesn't stop the shotgun. So it doesn't deflect bullets as far as I know. So later in the movie, she's like, oh, I found this spell that I took from Gina Rowland's clenched fist That's a lot of like, I need some chalk and I need some blood. And I kept thinking, why not just use the brick dust? And then you don't have to cast a spell or anything, right? Why do all this weird stuff? Oh, I got to draw this pentagram on the floor with the eyes facing in all directions. Ah, sweet Jesus. So the grand reveal, spoiler alert, is, and I found it kind of interesting though, is like 100 years ago or however long ago it was, the people who originally owned the place, their servants were basically voodoo people,
this is the most interesting part of the movie. Because at first I thought it was one thing, and then I was like, oh no, it's the other thing. At first I thought these were the kids and they are practicing the stuff. Oh no,
that's what I thought too.
So
yes,
in my mind, they tried to make the servants out to be these great saintly persons, but in the end they were not, because they had no problem sacrificing those children that they were caring for.
Right.
And then continuing to sacrifice just for their own furtherance. Because they made it seem like, they helped people in the community and they did this and they did that. No. They're dead.
Yes. Right. Well, yes. So you think, because 100 years ago,
all right, tell the story.
Servants... Okay, so the servants had basically,
this is like
we thought they'd had a relationship.
30s, right?
Right. Something like that. We thought that they had had a relationship with the two young children, the son and the daughter of the
right, because the wife would have basically raised them like their own children.
Well, it was Papa Justify and Mama Cecile were the names of the two servants. So one night at a wild party that the plantation owners were throwing, they went in to find the kids and discovered there was some kind of ceremony was going on. They grab Papa Justify and Mama Cecile and lynch them, hang them from a tree.
Because it looked like they're trying to do some voodoo with the kids. And basically everybody was crazy with their drunkenness. Because this is not slave time we're talking about. We're talking about the 1920s.
No,
these are not,
no.
Yeah,
right. Not slaves. There's just
servants
and
a bunch of crazy racists.
Exactly. So
let me
then,
interrupt.
Of course,
and the premise that they found this out because the premise in the story is the guests are all drunk and they want to say goodnight to the children. No, don't go waking
kids are
up
nowhere
my
to be
kids
found
at midnight with a bunch of 50 drunks pouring into their bedroom. Get the hell out of here!
That's pretty standard. That's how we do it.
Over there,
That's how we do it.
Get out.
You don't have to go home.
Exactly. There was not like the Von Trapp
stuff.
family. So long, farewell, Vida Seda.
Vida Seda. So they kill the servants, and then the brother and sister stay and become the master of the plantation. Live there until they sell the place to this other couple in 1962. Right. And that couple is the current couple who run it. But what the reveal is, the spell's called the sacrifice spell, basically. Essentially, it's meant to prolong your life, but really what it does is you switch bodies with the person. That's the reveal. So when the servants were being strung up, it was really the children being strung up in the servants' bodies, essentially. They were the
I read somewhere this was supposed to be Papa Justify Mama Cecile's revenge because their bosses were assholes. So this was their revenge by switching bodies because they weren't old when this happened.
No.
So this seems like it was all just a setup.
It was. Well, it's basically like they were treated as servants. They were treated as servants, not as these kind of wizened hoodoo practitioners, I guess was the idea. So why didn't you go
somewhere else?
Who the hell knows? So basically what we're led to believe is that in 1962, they did it again. Right. Essentially. The young couple comes in, they switch places with the young couple who promptly have strokes and they get rid of them. So now they're doing it again. So what had happened is old man Ben switched bodies with young Luke, who was the estate lawyer. And there's the reveal was that because they needed to write a will to make sure that the next body they inhabit gets possession of
I
the
hate
plantation.
to tell you this, but there are websites where you can write a will.
In 2005, did they have a website?
What's his name after the OJ? One of the OJ attorneys has been advertising that since then.
F. Lee Bailey?
Shapiro.
No.
Robert Shapiro.
John Travolta?
And
What are you talking about?
Shapiro have teamed up again.
Interesting. Klaus von Bülow?
Oh my God. I love Reversal of Fortune. I remember watching Will and Grace and what's her name? Megan, what?
Megan Mullally.
Character goes, it was something like, Sonny, is Sonny awake? It was some Von Bülow reference, and I was like,
yeah. Alan Dershowitz still practices law, by the way.
Yeah.
Good
How did he get so tangled up in the Trump thing?
Let's not even go there. So the reveal is the old man that she was like giving hospice care to was really the young lawyer who's being drugged to be kind of spazzy and unable to speak. So he was kind of help me, but in a way he's also like, you need to help us. Because you're next on the list.
The other tipper is, the part I like the movie, there's no mirrors. Well, there's no mirrors, as it turns out, is because then you can see what people really look like, apparently.
Is that what it was? I couldn't tell what the hell that was.
What I researched was, remember when she's asleep and she looks in her mirror and she sees like Mama Cecile leaving?
Oh,
it was Gina Rollins, but when you look in the mirror, so when John Hurt looks in the mirror, he also sees his true self, or maybe
and that causes him to freak out.
Maybe he saw his current self. I don't know, but that was supposed to be
they were a little light on that one.
Inconsistent, but yeah, but that's part of the thing. It wasn't like I needed to keep all the mirrors up in the attic for the spell. It was like something like you could see who they really are.
Right.
And how do you go through generation after generation avoiding mirrors like a freaking vampire? Worse than a vampire, because a vampire, you just don't see anything. With them, you see a totally different person.
Right. Very sad. It's a sad situation. So then at the end, they're like, oh, we need to send these guys to the hospital. Presumably at the hospital, the drug would wear off. And old Gina Rowland, I don't know if it doesn't matter. She could say, hey, she stole my body.
Okay, so we're talking about the end.
The end of the movie. Yes.
After Gina Rowland switches places with Almost Famous. And so now we have two people who appear to have strokes. Except what we notice is that if they don't keep getting the medication, it wears off. And then you're sending the friend along and we'll join you later. For some reason, in the back of my mind, I thought the first time I saw this, that there was an accident and the ambulance exploded or something. I think I must have confused it with a different, because that would have made sense. Right. Because now, just because you have a stroke don't mean you're going to be dead.
Well, they aren't real strokes.
They aren't real strokes. And they had to keep medicating them. So what's the plan? Because they don't inherit that if they're alive. And they're alive.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. She could leave the hospital in 2 weeks and be like, okay, you guys are evicted. We're not dead. And we're changing the will, by the way.
Exactly. And what's the point of sending the friend along? Because the friend would be like, okay, I'm here. Where are you?
Right.
So it
falls apart at the end.
Literally, they should have had something where the ambulance driver loses control and then they're all killed. That would have made sense.
All right. Falls into a crocodile pit, and that's the end of the
cradle. Absolutely.
Any other highlights you want to talk about?
I will just say there are some creepy things. Like when she goes to the gas station and she fills up, which I would have assumed was a historic or abandoned gas station, like the ones you see on the way to like Las Vegas. They're just out in the desert.
Yeah.
Who would have
Needles.
thought there was really gas in that? And she's like wandering around this stinky old rotten gas station, going back into the private quarters. There's bones hanging
You don't
down.
do that.
There's the
Oh, I have a note about the bones.
Papa Justify
behind the
music,
scenes.
and then like a dude who I've seen in 1,000 movies, whose name I don't know, pops
Yes.
in for a quick cameo. But that was creepy. I will tell you,
Lay it on me.
New Orleans shit is scary when you're out there in the swamp. I don't know if it's too much Pirates of the Caribbean or the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, but New Orleans Square is the best part of Disneyland.
Well, and I would like to put into the record that New Orleans is an urban city. It's not made up of swamps and plantations. You have to leave the city to get to the
Once again,
plantations
why
and
you
things
gotta
like
bring
that.
logic into my fantasy? Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. I just love it.
Very good.
The one thing about
It's
this
great.
movie
I love New Orleans.
is it sets a mood, and that mood is creepy.
It is, and I like the twist. I like I thought the twist was a cool twist as well. Honestly though, watching it again, I didn't find it that scary, because you realize it's like, oh, this old woman is the villain. You know, it's like Nurse Ratched or somebody. It's like, I don't know if it's scary per se, but I think it was definitely eerie
and moody.
I think they set a good mood. Yeah, so the mood was good.
Well, it's like Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary's Baby isn't scary, but it's creepy.
There you go. It's a slight distinction.
It's kind of it kind of has a little hook to it, because in Rosemary's Baby there was that issue of, does it only work if you believe in it? They brought that up.
Well, seeing this movie, you don't really know what it's about going into it. You have no idea. It's called The Skeleton Key, just because there's a big mansion with a skeleton key to open.
It's called Skeleton Key because they like the word skeleton, and the skeleton key really has nothing to do.
Not much. It's a scary.
What do they call it?
word.
The hospice nurse. How about that? Or the bad hospice nurse.
Hoodoo.
Hoodoo on your voodoo.
That's all you got to call it. Oh, exactly. Old man.
Old man John Hurt cashing a paycheck.
John Hurt in his bathtub.
I almost called him William Hurt. So maybe all the Hurts are out there, and then in the next,
they're all related.
Bayou are all the bald ones.
just like the Skarsgårds and the Sarsgaards.
Warring factions.
Okay, so they are. They don't like each other. That's the word on the street. Okay, behind the scenes.
All
are you ready?
Lay it on me. Oh wait, I did write one thing. Because I mentioned Rosemary's Baby, is that Gina Rollins was married to John Cassavetes.
There you go. It all comes back together. The gas station that Caroline visits has a wind chime made of bones. Those bones are raccoon penile.
Nice.
Bones.
So is it a fertility thing or just a fun thing that people collect in the swamp?
It's just a fun thing people do in the swamp. There you go. Sir John Hurt offered to perform the stunt of him falling off the roof.
Dude, no.
They said, it is too dangerous. No can do. Even though he's in a wheelchair, it's like, even if he kind of cracks himself up a little bit, who cares? I mean, he's in bed the whole time. Whatevs, right?
Good for you, John Hurt.
There you go. The book that Caroline is reading to the hospice patient is Treasure Island. In that book, toward the beginning, Jim Hawkins is caring for the elderly Billy Bones after he had a stroke.
I will tell you, that is a good book. I always loved Disney's Treasure Island, and the book is really good too. Billy Bones.
Billy Bones. Let's see. Oh, there's kind of like, if you listen to the things that young Luke says to Violet, there's a lot of clues as to what's really going on. At one point, he says, Luke says to Violet, "You know, you're the only
I
woman for
noticed
me."
that this time. I was like,
Yes.
because she does seem very jealous.
Yes. Let's see. Earlier in the film, Violet voices dismay that Caroline doesn't have a New Orleans accent. And the reason why this is an issue is that presumably after they switch bodies, she's going to have to affect Caroline's Hoboken accent for the rest of her life, I guess. Is that the idea?
But let's think about that. Afterwards, she still had Caroline's voice. So why wouldn't you have Caroline's accent? I don't know. That's deep.
Well, the voice is determined by obviously your vocal cords and things like that, but your accent is determined by just your habits of speech.
And she also wanted someone who was black.
Right. Well, she said that. She said, like, why couldn't I now get? Well, they said basically is that the African American caregivers would suss out the hoodoo quick and quit.
They were a little too wise.
Right. So like they've gone through like 5 or something, they said. And she was the first one to stick around. So good times. That's it. That's all I got. Not much.
Yeah, I tried to look for some gossipy stuff. Nothing about why John Hurt would want this role. How about Rotten Tomato Award for Almost Famous for the Costner Award for acting? She was pure shit.
I was talking to Becky about this, where I'm just kind of like, you look at her and you're kind of like, is she cute or is she just kind of homely?
I think she's cute. But she. No,
I mean, Kate, if you're listening, no offense.
No, I think she's attractive, but her acting is Kevin Costner quality. And I remember thinking, I thought she was a better actress, so maybe she's a better actress now. But back then, and she was fine in Almost Famous.
What do you mean now? What have you seen her in the last 15 years? Case in point. Very sad.
But yeah, pure Kevin Costner bullshit. And the worst is when she's made that switch and now she's Violet. The acting ratchets down 3 levels. It was truly one of the worst acting that I saw in this whole thing. And everybody else was solid.
Well, and the thing about all these kind of movies, because this is kind of like a mystery thriller kind of thing rather than a straight horror movie per se. You kind of have to feel like, as an actor, you need to kind of be putting forth the fear, the desperation, the hopelessness, and you really don't get a whole lot of that.
You don't get it.
You know what I mean?
And the fact that she's just digging through these people's houses before she realizes she's going up to get seeds and then spends the rest of the time like digging through it. It reminds me of the movie Dolls, where the punk rockers show up and just start thrashing the place. And they get theirs and she got hers. It was very disrespectful. Yep. Although, not saying that I wouldn't do the same thing because that's my curious nature.
Very sad. Okay. Let's look at the cast. Kate Hudson evidently is still working. Sorry to besmirch your career. So, you know her from Almost Famous. How to Lose a Guy in 10
Days was cute. That's her. That's where she needs to be. Not drama.
Bride Wars. Fool's Gold.
I don't know, don't you? Is this Hallmark?
This is Hallmark. Let's see. Peter Sarsgaard plays Luke, the young lawyer. You remember him in Garden State?
No.
Kinsey? Jarhead? No. Okay. Also still working. Like it's basically like they're all still working, but they're not working in anything you would have seen. Is the cold hard reality. But you got to pay your bills too.
I agree.
Let's see. Gina Rowlands played Violet.
You know what? Here's the fascinating thing about Gina Rowlands. I have always heard that name. So I knew she was an actress. But then when I looked through her list, I have not seen anything she's ever done. And she was quite the beauty.
Quite the beauty. She was in The Notebook. She played the old version.
I think I saw The Notebook? No.
I did
That's
see
because
The Notebook in
you
the
have
theater.
half a vagina. No.
I just half of one. No, well, back in the day before I was married, as a young teacher, I hung out with women all the
yes.
time. So, and I love going to the movies. So they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go see The Notebook." I'm like, "Whatever." I'm sitting there watching this thing, and it was straight waterworks.
Oh, Jesus.
If you haven't seen The Notebook,
No.
do not, because it is the most depressing. All of that Nicholas Sparks stuff. It's basically like, here's this thing you love. Oh, they're dead.
No. Pass.
That's basically what it is.
I didn't read any of those crappy books. I'm not watching that shit. No.
Here's the formula. 90% of the movie is, here's this couple. They're so much in love. You're invested. Last 10 minutes, they can't be together. Something happens. One of them dies. Both of them die. Somebody's got amnesia. Somebody just fell off a plane. There's a shark attack. Something happens that means they cannot be together.
The shark standing below the plane waiting to snap you up as you came down in your parachute.
It's a horror story. I mean, The Notebook, spoiler alert, the grand reveal is she has Alzheimer's and doesn't remember the love for life as like an adult
Jesus.
now. Now, 50 years later, yeah. There's a big scene of James Garner playing the old Ryan Gosling, just crying. Oh, God. Along with everybody, I'm looking around going, why don't I just stab myself? Because everybody around me is just, oh, God. Anyway, so she's in The Notebook.
No.
She was number 2 on the list is The Skeleton Key. You also remember her from Hope Floats, evidently.
No,
with Sandra
Hope
Bullock.
sank.
Hope. Poop floats as well, evidently. John Hurt. He played Ben Devereaux. Sang no lines, just a lot of spasms.
How much
in the
they pay him
bathtub.
for that shit?
Whatever
They're
it was,
desperate
not
for some
enough.
draw name. They're like, we're going to put William Hurt. And then the chick from Almost Famous. Yay.
Okay, not William Hurt. John Hurt. You remember him? He was in 1984, Alien, Elephant Man. More recently, he was in like the Harry Potter movies. Hardest working man in show business.
I don't even know how old is he. Is he 100? Is he 200? Is he 50? I don't know.
He could be any. He died in 2007.
Did he?
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Very sad. I think that's about it. Anybody else you want to know in the cast?
Is there anybody? Oh, yeah.
About?
Who's the dude at the gas station?
The dude in the gas station is Asok Bagole. I know I didn't pronounce that correctly. He was in Black Panther and he was in Casino Royale.
Okay. I didn't see either one of those.
Good times.
I know
you
him from TV.
Hardest working man. Good times. So there you have. Oh wait, we got to talk about the rating.
Yeah, you keep trying.
What
to
is your
cut
rating?
out my ratings. All right, I am going to give it.
Well, first.
Go ahead.
Rotten Tomatoes gives it 38% rotten.
Wow.
Very sad. It's creaky and formulaic script. More mumbo jumbo than hoodoo. Very sad.
I would say it's a good creepy movie. I would give it 3 3/4 raccoon penile bones.
Out of how many?
Out of 5.
Out of 4?
It's almost a 4. Try not to think logically. Just let it wash over you.
Just let it wash over you. Just like I'm going to give it 5 out of 7. John Hurt washing over himself in the bathtub naked. And while Kate Hudson reaches for the soap.
3 out of 3. Kate Hudson's rooting around.
Oh, sweet Jesus. No, it's inoffensive. It is creepy. It's entirely bloodless. So it's not gory or anything like that. I thought the twist was pretty good. It's by no means like, oh, damn, rush out and see Skeleton Key. But it's fine.
Yeah,
it does
fun.
the job.
It's fun. As long as, you know.
You know Kate Hudson's in it, so it's not going to be an Academy Award nominee.
No Golden Globes, no Academy Awards.
No. It is what it is. It's fine. It's fine. Not going to hurt anybody.
Not going to hurt anybody, but it's a fun. It's Coronaville. You know, it's raining outside. Make some popcorn. Get under the blankie. Watch a little skeleton. I almost said Skeleton Crew, or Skeleton Key.
You know what? Enjoy the Kate Hudson, Peter Sarsgaard. Just let it all wash it. I mean, the casting alone tells you it's about 2005. That tells
don't
you
let
what's
the
going on
logic
there.
get to you.
Don't do it. So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast, TW Die. Email us at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., etc., etc.
Boom.
Aaron,
Yes.
you're on social media. What are you doing?
Aaron on the Insta and the Twitski. Shoot us an email. Do you have some suggestions? We're thinking about doing all Italian vomity gore coming soon.
Coming soon. Buckle up.
Eat light. You don't want a heavy cream sauce.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing too rich.
No, you do
before
not.
We watch. What's
No.
his name? I keep calling him Anthony Fauci. Who's the director?
Lucio Fulci.
Lucio Fulci. If you haven't seen Zombie, why don't you go check that out? It will mess you up.
So there you have it. Thank you very much, and be well.
Rock on.